Okay, so I've been getting back in the Back for Blood recently, and soon I'm planning on getting Left 4 Dead 2. So I thought I should go ahead and make a video like this despite how late I am to the topic, and thought I should make a video talking about my thoughts on Back for Blood, or basically comparing it to Left 4 Dead 2. I don't really want to drag along the intro, so let's get started. First off, I want to go over some of my main flaws about the game. This is basically just a giant ass rant. Okay, here's the thing that I find annoying about this game. The fact that the special infected, first off, that's one of the most annoying things. They're all so similar, yet they're so different at the same time. It's so annoying. Like, there's like one category. There's different categories of infected, and then there's just mutations of the same one that you can barely notice the difference on. Like, there's a reason why people love Left 4 Dead 2's infected, and that's because they were so distinct. The boomer with his fat appearance, the fucking spitter with the like acid leaking out of her mouth and all that shit, the fucking hunter with his like jogging gear. You can tell there's a difference between each and every one of those infected. You don't get that with Back for Blood. All you can tell is that it's either a tall thing with a giant hand, you can tell it's a big thing, or you can tell that it's a fucking ogre. And I'll mention on that soon, but I'm gonna get back to the special infected. The annoying thing about some of them too is that they're just mini bosses, half of them. Like the tank, he's a boss basically, but the thing is that it's an event to fight him. That's the entire point of his existence. You can't just sit there and say, okay, like imagine you're at a board meeting with an executive, just, okay, so we need to figure out some special infected for Back for Blood. How are we gonna do this? Let's just throw random bosses in there. That's not how that's gonna work. You're gonna have to think of counterplay too. What? No, fuck you. I don't wanna. No, just put in the biggest boss you can think of. That's like what they did. That's all that they fucking did. And you can tell whenever you're playing the game. They have weak spots that you can either barely see or they disappear the moment you hit them. Along with the fact that they have a giant health bar on the screen, as if they're trying to advertise them as a fucking boss fight. And they all just do the same fucking thing. There's no difference in between them. It's only the size of them. It's either they're a giant ass motherfucker or they're small, but they're still a boss fight. There's no difference. And then there's the snitch. I fucking hate this one. Because, okay, let me give you an example. Let's think if you were making a zombie game and you wanted to have an infected that could call over other infected to help. But that's only if they see you for long enough. How would you add counterplay to that? You would make it to where if you killed them beforehand, they wouldn't be able to alert anything. It's counterplay. If you click on your feet, then you don't have to deal with a horde. It makes sense. But for some reason, Back for Blood, they have mutations of the fucking snitch that makes it to where they'll still alert it even if they die. So you just can't win. You always have to deal with a fucking horde. And that is one thing that's annoying, is that that's implemented inside of one of the most bullshit final levels ever. You have to go around and kill 5 of them. That's 5 instant hordes that you have to deal with. And it is actually so fucking stupid. Because whenever you're making a special infected, you have to have counterplay. In Left 4 Dead 2, they have counterplay for every single special infected. The boomer, if it gets too close to you and explodes, it could alert the horde. It doesn't do damage like that too, and it'll also vomit acid. But if you see them, you can kill them from a distance and they can't hurt you. The hunter, he is fast, and if he leaps you, he'll do massive damage. But he yells beforehand, so if you're quick enough, you can either dodge him or you can shoot him. Along with every other special infected in there. The only one that doesn't is the tank, but that's because he is a boss. He's the only one who is a boss because of the fact that he isn't the event to fight. I've already mentioned this before. But here's the annoying thing. Fucking, there's no counterplay for any of the special affected inside of Back for Blood. They either grab you for a second, you can either A, free yourself, or B, someone else frees you. There's no counterplay. You have no idea where they are, when they are, you have no idea how many there's gonna be. And Left 4 Dead 2, there's only a couple of special infected that could be on there at a time. Like maybe 2 if you're not lucky, but 1 at most. And instead of Back for Blood, you can have 3 or 4 tall boys in the same fucking place, and they're just bullet sponges. There's no creative or innovative way to fight them. It's just you dump a mag into them whenever you see them, and that's it. It's not fun. And another annoying thing about the special infected is just how lack of emotion there is with them. You can't tell what they could have been before the fucking outbreak. All you see is that they're all mutated. That actually goes for every infected too, instead of Back 4 Blood. But you just can't see anything that they did before the outbreak, because they all just look like mutated things that come out fucking save the world or some shit. It's fucking stupid. Like, okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna lean in a bit, but here's the thing. Whenever you're trying to deal with the special infected, it just feels like you're wiping the floor with like biohazard knockoffs. You're not actually fighting things that used to be living, breathing humans. Instead of Left 4 Dead, whenever you would see a zombie, they would always be wearing like a different thing of attire, different clothes, different like aesthetics, everything. Sometimes they'll be wearing hazmat suits, sometimes they'd be in clown masks, sometimes they just like, it's so fucking stupid, because it just makes you feel so fucking weird. It makes you feel like kind of sad whenever you're seeing how many of them that you're killing and what they used to be. Same for the unspecial infected, the boomer. You can tell that he was probably an overweight person. The hunter, you can tell he probably jogged a lot, maybe even parkour. You can tell that the spitter was probably a hooker. Okay, no, not that, but fucking, you get what I mean, right? It's just fucking okay. Like I was saying, inside of Back 4 Blood, all of the fucking special infected, there's no difference between them. They all look like they're the same. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to tell the difference between them? I mentioned this before, but like, that actually kind of ties in to them looking different too, because if they look different, you can recognize them easier. They're a lot less recognizable, because you can't tell what they were before. If you could tell what they were before, then it'd be a lot easier to actually recognize that and realize whenever you see that same clothing and that same body type. It's actually so fucking stupid. But still, I don't understand why they're like this. They did this to themselves. If you think I'm being unfair by actually making them sound like they were being compared to Left 4 Dead, that's because that's what they did inside of all of their trailers. In all of their trailers, the one way they tried to build hype was by saying, "We are from the creators of Left 4 Dead." And here's the funny thing. Almost all the creators of Left 4 Dead who were in Turtle Rock either A, stayed with Valve, or B, left Turtle Rock before they started making Back 4 Blood. So there's a grand total of around like 4 or 5 people who worked on Left 4 Dead, and the rest of them are the actual other people who worked on the game. So they're basically lying about that, but they added this comparison to themselves. They're trying to be the people who, from the creators of Left 4 Dead, but the annoying thing is that they're just not. They aren't the people who made Left 4 Dead. That's what Valve did. You can see it with this game. It's not a bad game on paper. It's just bad because it's being compared to Left 4 Dead, and also some of the features are shitty. But enough about the special infected. I have way more to talk about, so stay tuned. So the next thing that I'm gonna start ranting about, let's go over the card system, and also I'm just gonna loop in the fucking simplicity of the games in this too. So here's the appeal. The appeal of Left 4 Dead was how simplistic it was. Left 4 Dead was extremely simplistic for what it was, and that's what made it so fun. It had the same gameplay loop of make it from point A to point B, find guns on the way, kill zombies, do some stuff that blocks your path. All you have is your gun. You have a secondary, a primary. You have a support item, a healing item, and you have a secondary healing item. That's how that works. It's simple and easy to follow. Inside of Back 4 Blood, they have so many unnecessary things. One of the most annoying of which is the trauma damage. Because here's the thing. The trauma damage, it's just stupid. Basically, it punishes you anytime you get hit. It makes it to where some of your health bars blacked out. At least inside the most recent update. And if you want that back, you have to go only to a trauma station to be able to deal with it. It has to be a trauma station. You can't do it anywhere else at all. Yeah, it's just so fucking stupid. Like, why would you make it to where you have less health because you got hit? Sometimes you can't do anything about getting hit. What if a special infected jumps over to you and smacks you? What if there's just too many fucking zombies in a horde. You're gonna have trauma damage. And at least they fixed it a little bit. It's still annoying. I remember one of the times I was going through a playthrough on like Act 1 or 2, and this was before I knew anything about the card system, and fucking I had like 45 health left, all because of the fucking trauma system. Like, at least there's cards that can make you prevent it, but that's another thing I don't like, the fucking card system. You don't need the cards. There's no actual need for them. Basically, the cards kind of work like mini boost to your stats and mini upgrades. And they're there to actually help you, make you better at certain things. But you have to run a build for that certain thing. It makes anything else obsolete because you have to focus on that one thing, and that's what makes it annoying. In Left 4 Dead, you can just hop in and play whatever the fuck you want because of how simple it is. Go into a campaign, play with some buddies, play solo, play with randoms, it doesn't fucking matter. And that's fine, because that's why Left 4 Dead is amazing. Like I said, it's because of how simple it is. But in Back 4 Blood, the way it works, you have to find a good build. You have to make sure that you're battling corruption cards, which is another annoying feature. That should be something that you can turn on or off, not something that's forced in. Basically, corruption cards are debuffs that they can use against you, like making zombies stronger, or making special infected have armor. It's stupid. Because why would you, like, it makes you have to think about the cards you're using. Whenever you go into Left 4 Dead, you don't have to think while you're playing it. You just hop in, play, and have a good time. You can't do that inside of Back 4 Blood, though. You just have to go in and pray that you don't have bad corruption cards as you're using your cards. And also, I'm also just gonna rope this in here, melee. They fucked it up, because it basically, if you want to use melee, and if you need it to be viable, you basically have to have a card centered around melee. But you can't do that, because if you're doing that instead of Back 4 Blood, then you can't use anything else, and it's just, you can't have a card for anything else, like I said, but fucking, it's just, I'm stuttering on my word right now, I'm sorry, but I just can't get over how fucking stupid some of the gameplay implements are for this. But yeah, that means that since you can't have a card for anything else, you have to use melee. And that means that sometimes, what if you're going up against a long range enemy? How are you gonna take that out? It's stupid. Instead of Left 4 Dead, all the melee, they felt nice. It felt cool to go in there, guns a-blazing, without even using guns. It made you feel like a badass. And it's just amazing. Yeah, some of these things we're gonna need instead of implements. Like, we're gonna need aim down sights. We're gonna need some of this shit. But we don't need the ability to have cards in. We don't need attachments either. They come pre on a gun. The way Left 4 Dead's guns work, there's tiers. There's 1 through 3. And the further you are in a chapter, the more of those bigger tiers you find. Pretty simple, right? Pick them up along the way and that's it. You don't feel an attachment for your gun, because you can always just swap it out. There's no attachments that are mine. And now I'm going to switch this over as a little, transition into the copper system. This is another implement that I fucking hate. Basically, around the place you can find copper, which is basically the in-game currency. And you use that to buy weapons and attachments and upgrades. This is supposed to help you encourage teamwork and all that shit, but it's not doing that whatsoever. Because the team upgrades are so fucking expensive for what they are, and you can just get most of the upgrades for yourself and you'll be fine. It doesn't encourage teamwork at all. And that's the annoying thing. Another thing is that this game just doesn't encourage teamwork like Left 4 Dead does. In Left 4 Dead, if you don't stick together, then you can easily get singled out by a jockey or by a fucking charger. By anything like that. But if you stay together too much, then you can fall prey to a boomer or something. But that's fine, because there's always counterplay to all of that. Instead of Back 4 Blood, it doesn't encourage teamwork nearly as much, because they have cards in the game that let you escape from grapples. It makes it obsolete whenever you're trying to actually go through the game. It's obsolete. You can't do anything. I mean, you can do everything actually. What am I fucking saying? It's fucking stupid. Why would you add that in there to try and encourage teamwork just to give you a card that can make you not have to deal with it? It's like saying, hey, this, if you drink this, it'll make you not be thirsty anymore. Or you could Or, here's a better idea. You can just magically teleport the water into your fucking whatever the fuck. Problem solved. Then you're not dealing with that. But it just makes it just innovation for innovation's sake. It's stupid. But enough about my ranting about that. Let's go on to a different thing. Let's talk about characters. Now, the reason why Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 worked is because they didn't go too far on that. They had a cast of 4 characters, 4 personalities to get attached to, and it was different in each of them, for a grand total of 8 characters that you could play as. Instead of Back 4 Blood, they give you way too many fucking cleaners that you have to do, and all of them have buffs too. So you're not just picking them for a personality. And like, I'd pick Ellis or Coach, maybe even Nick if I'm playing Left 4 Dead 2. I'd pick Bill, Francis, Lewis, anybody. Fucking Zoe or Rochelle, anybody. You can pick all of them for their personality. But instead of Back 4 Blood, their personalities don't exist. Because it's either dumb young kid or a grizzled old man. And there's no way to fucking get a different... There's nothing different. Their personalities are all just cookie cut the same thing. They yell out the most pointless jokes. They're so annoying to listen to sometimes. Along with how they'll just have random backstory drops like, shut the fuck up. You're supposed to expect that they've known each other for a while if they're part of the same fucking thing as cleaners going on missions together, but instead they're just out there saying their backstory as if you've never heard it. It's annoying. Like, shut the fuck up. But anyways, instead of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, each person was unique. They've had a different feel for them. They had their favorite guns. They had personality quirks that you could either relate to or enjoy watching. It's just amazing. Everybody had their own role of the group, and it was amazing the way they had it work. Instead of here, they're just cookie cutter, one-off. Everything they say is just a fucking joke. It's so fucking stupid. Now, this is one of my biggest gripes about Back 4 Blood. The director. Now let me explain. The way that it worked in Left 4 Dead 2 and 1 was basically there was a director who was making all the events happen. Random hordes, random tanks, random shit like that. You understand, right? That's how the game is always so different. Things spawn in different areas every time because of the director. So everywhere you go, it never feels different. It's amazing the way they actually had it implemented. In Back 4 Blood, well, yes, things don't spawn in the same areas. The director can be retarded. I mentioned this before, but there can just be 3 of the same fucking special infected in one area, and that's just how the director calls fair. They can just call in random hordes at any time, or call in mutated snitches that you can't kill, or also sound off the fucking thing. It's just fucking stupid. It's not really that much to say because, well, there's not really much to say about the director because we already know how that works. But it's still, I just thought I should mention it. Also, another thing I should also mention is the way they had it advertised. I mentioned this before, but they advertised themselves as the creators of Left 4 Dead. But that's different. They had way too many fucking cinematics and trailers and everything like that. They bloated it to all fucking hell. But, well, no, what's funny? Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, they only had 1 trailer each. Only 2 trailers. And they were cinematic. It was like a movie. That's the amazing thing how Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 advertise themselves as. They advertise themselves as a movie. Each fucking chapter, or whatever the fuck, I'm trying to remember the name, my bad. But fucking, each one of them, each campaign, that was it. Each campaign, they have their own, like, amazing poster. The characters looking badass. They have their tagline. They have the name. They have the fucking, it's all cinematic. And it's just amazing how they actually make it to make you feel like you're in a movie. And I guess I should add this in here too. The music. The music makes you feel like you're in a movie too. Whenever a special infected comes by, you hear it make a noise along with its jingle. And it's just amazing. Like, you hear a spitter, you just hear... And you recognize that. You realize, shit, it's a spitter. Gotta watch out so I can kill it before it hits me. You understand. And also, the music for every single different thing is always different. And it just adds tension. Whenever a horde comes, it starts going frantic. When a witch is chasing you, it's slamming piano keys as if it's like frantic as well. It's amazing the way they have that work. And then there's Back 4 Blood. Barely any music, and the only music that's there is the music that is just playing in the background as you're going through. Maybe a little bit intense if a horde comes by, but that's about it. You could barely tell the difference between that. And I think that's just the main problem with Back 4 Blood. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. It's just the lack of passion that you can tell Turtle Rock didn't put into it. All Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, they both started off as just a Counter-Strike mod, where it was the counter-terrorist chasing you with melee, and that gave Valve the idea for Left 4 Dead. They had Turtle Rock work with them because they were the modders, but at some point they left to do that. They tried to make Evolve from the creators of Left 4 Dead, that didn't work. Same thing for Back 4 Blood. But this is the thing, it feels too corporate. There's no passion put into this. You can tell that there's passion put into Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. They have Easter eggs in there relating to other Valve games. Each character has thousands and thousands of dialogue. There is like 700 or something like that death animations to make it feel interesting. The blood, it's not just jelly like it is in Back 4 Blood. It's just amazing. They put love and support into the game. But you can tell that they didn't do that when it comes for Back 4 Blood. You can tell they just turn into ragdolls whenever they die. Each of the characters, they don't feel different at all. They all feel like people who just make random dumbass one-liners. And it's just, that's the main problem I have with Back 4 Blood. It's a good game, like put in a vacuum, devoid of anything else. It's a good game. But you compare it to Left 4 Dead, and you start to see how bad it really is when compared to it. The story is also bad. The way Left 4 Dead would do it, they would always just like, they had passion in the story, even though it wasn't the main thing. You'd have to look around, look at the environment, see how things work. They had funny little Easter eggs there too, like I said. And the more you look at the environment, the funner it is to figure out what is actually going on in the whole picture. The banter between each of the groups as they start learning to like each other better is just amazing too. You can see the passion, you can feel it. Not with Back 4 Blood though. Inside of it, the story is as generic as any other zombie movie. The Ridden is a fucking stupid name, along with how stupid they look, like I mentioned. So, I have a question. I need to know your all's thoughts on Back 4 Blood. Did you all like it? Did you all think it held up to Left 4 Dead? Or did you all think that it was just like I think? Was it just a shitty knockoff trying its hardest to copy it, but it will never do the same? I want to thank you all for watching my rant here, and if you actually stuck through, then thank you. If you want to, you can subscribe. I don't really care, and do what you want. I highly doubt I'm going to get any, but do what you want. Like I said, I do not give a fuck. But that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, thanks.